I work with distance runners, and I've had some really good ones. This kid's name is Billy Fayette. He's old now. He's running marathons, and he's pretty good at that too. But when he started with me, uh, he ran at Hinsdale Central, multiple time All-State cross-country track guy. This is day one. He qualified for some events, and he goes, I want to be better. And he was a big kid. He's 6'4". But I said, all right, Billy, forget about sprint. I just want to see your race pace for a mile, okay? And so here it was. We've got a foot strike. It's casted out in front. He is going to anchor into that heel, let the body pass and push his body. And so when I say push body, we're looking at this pelvic change, okay, that he can't hold that pelvis in place. And the reason why that's important is you're going to lose, it's like if you have a car and you put a joint in the middle of your axle. Both sides are going to become very inefficient as they bounce back and forth. So again, rolls through, big push out back, heel strike out in front where he's cast his leg out, runs forward and drives through. You can see just how much his pelvis is jumping around when he runs.
So what do you do for him?
Well, I'm going to show you the after. I'm going to show you the front as well, because a lot of times when that pelvis moves around a lot, there's this crossover. So now he's going to run a mile, 2 mile, 8 miles, 10 miles, and zigzag back and forth. So half of his energy is going to go from correcting the crossover and the desire to push to the left or right. And again, you can see a collapse in the spine, a collapse in the hip, a collapse in the knee. He's actually very clever about moving that leg through. A slide, a hit and slide in the foot, which there's your shin splints that pop up. You get a slide. And so here's the after.
And this guy was like state champion type good, right?
Yeah, I think he was 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
I think he ran 4:12 at the end. It was a fast year. Jack Driggs beat him. But here's after. You can see that foot strike is underneath more. The foot becomes a spring at this point, and at toe off, his knee is right underneath his butt. So now that pelvis isn't jumping all over the place. So
his knees coming through too, like a sprinter.
Oh yeah,
on touchdown, his knee's
snapping through. Look at his carriage. Look at the carriage of his shank here. He gets into that flamingo pose. And so from an energy standpoint, a shorter lever requires less energy to come through, right? And so we shorten that lever.
So in a way, you are actually creating endurance by making him more efficient.
That's right. I'm saving energy. He has more energy to run through.
Oh, look at that. That blows my mind.
It's not perfect, but it's much better. And remember, he's 6'4", so those are long levers. And so what did we do? Well, I hate to do this, but he did daily hip hike exercises at his house. And we did a shit ton of mini hurdle runs at different distances. And then I put water bags on his back. He held weight over his head. And that was the base of his workout. And then he did a lot of footwork where I took his arms away when he sprinted, and now he gets a much better foot action. And that was it. It wasn't rocket science. It was just the fundamentals or the foundational stuff that I like so much that we used to fix him around. And now he runs really good marathon times right now.
Sorry, Chris. Once you address the foot and ankle complex and teach it to do its function and teach the athlete how to allow it to function, is that something you revisit daily in preparation before a run or an activity, or is that something that will seem to hold for a longer amount of time?
For normal people or distance runners?
More so to the distance population.
Well, because distance runners are all OCD. And once you give them an exercise that seems to work for them, they never get rid of it in their entire life. So they stay with it, even though to me, it's a waste of time. For me, the goal of an exercise is to get rid of the exercise or the drill because it's done its job into what my final solution is going to be. But distance runners are a unique breed. I love them. They're great guys, but they're OCD. And once they find something that works for them, whether it's some magic drink or some goo or a pair of shoes or an exercise, they keep it for life. Billy still does hip hikes, and he's
great.
25 years old now.
So
ideally, you would get rid of, once you've accomplished what you need the exercise to do, you get rid of it.
So what would you suggest to a guy that has like like 100-mile a week, high volume, this is where we see the biggest gains? What if you could just tell that guy a few things about programming with distance guys, what would you say?
If I were a distance coach, and I had access to some kind of tracking, which everyone does now on their phone, I would find ways that you could find the speed that you need to run your mile time that your goal is, your 2-mile time is, and then build around that. Like, how long can I hold 8 meters a second? If I need to run, and I don't know times here and I don't know speeds, but let's just make up, I want to run a 420 mile and I need to run 7.5 meters a second. I would build workouts around holding that speed and how long I can hold that speed. And then I would mark it. So it really becomes rank, record, and publish. And I would mark that times. And so now if I needed to build a little more volume, I could cut that speed down and make it a little bit further. Or I could speed it up and say, all right, I really need to work at this 8 meters a second. Let's work at 8 meters a second for a while, see how long I can hold that. And then build exercises that would make you more efficient in getting to those speeds.
How many distance coaches, what percentage do you think do that?
None.
That's what I was thinking as well.
It's hard work. That's a lot of people to rank, record, and publish.
It is, but there's an inversion with the distance crowd of running race pace. I mean, yeah. It's like, it's really weird. It's like, it's almost, the aerobic foundation of distance running is almost like a religion to distance coaches.
It is. It is. And there's not, and that's what they believe. And again, I've never been in charge of distance runners, but to me, that would be a thing that you would need to look at, because really, especially at the elite levels, the mile's becoming a sprint.